Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, the show that brings you weekly advice and news at the beginning of every weekend. Introducing first your co-hosts Mack, Mark, Scott, and Lando. Back live with another Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. It's your boys, Mack, Mark, and Landon. We are without Scott right now. He is in the middle of moving, but we've got a good one for you regardless. Episode 71. We're into week 3. We're talking keep, trade, cut. And boys, it's Daniel Jones season. Let's go!
Mack.
If you're a longtime listener, you know that is complete sarcasm, but it's fun to talk about.
No, it's not. The shade that
yes, it is.
that you threw on Daniel Jones' offseason was substantial. Small school, inefficient quarterback. Where do you play
Duke.
college again, Mack?
Duke.
Oh, he played Duke. I didn't think football players came from Duke, did they?
He's a bum, but he gets an opportunity. It only took until Saturday, September 21st for Daniel Jones to get the nod over Eli. Way faster than I thought. But this is big times, man. Big time.
Now, I'm a bit of an old school podcaster, me.
Okay.
Sometimes when you make a take, you stick with that take. You know, there's a certain amount of pride in the takes that you make.
Well,
and
my dynasty team
I am sad to say that there is someone among us, Landon, and he is reneging on a take which he fought so vehemently.
Yeah.
You added Daniel Jones in Dynasty, Mack. How do you defend yourself to that?
Sleep at night.
My team name is the exact opposite of what I want it to be. My team name is F. Daniel Jones. And I picked up Daniel Jones in Dynasty. And yes, he's my quarterback right now, okay? I'm just trying to get a quick stream, and we'll see what happens.
Wow. That's embarrassing.
Good luck against those charging Buccaneers defense.
I don't want to talk about it. Daniel Jones or Kirk Cousins? Right. What do you want?
Kirk, anyone but Daniel Jones. That's what the former McKenzie would say.
Kirk Cousins has like 16 total pass attempts on the year.
If only the redness on Mack's face could be transmitted via podcasts, because I'm sure it's just like a beat right now.
Wherever you guys are, however you may be listening, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. If you're going to stick with us, thanks. But we want to thank you for making us a special part of your day. We're here, man. You can get us on Instagram and Twitter at SMS_fantasy. If you want to get the guys individually, the handles are in the episode description below. Before we jump into some news, I thought it'd be a fun little exercise through 2 weeks to do a quick little Who Am I? So I've prepared 2 questions, and I don't know if Landon has got one for us as well.
I do.
Okay, perfect. So we've got 3 total questions. We'll do our best to guess. I will be out on the first 2 and happy to compete, to participate, whatever you want to call it, in the third one. So, who am I? We're going to reference the man himself, Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes right now has 71.4% completion percentage, 821 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Right now, that is best for third in passer rating. The question is, what 2 quarterbacks are ahead of Pat Mahomes in passer rating through 2 weeks?
Ooh.
Lamar Jackson has to be one of them.
Sorry, say that again?
Lamar Jackson has to be one.
That is one, correct?
And I think the other is Dak Prescott.
Wow, that was way too easy. Okay. Well done, fellas. Well done.
High five, Lando.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. Second one. I lead the league in yards per carry at 7.8. This also makes me the most efficient runner. However, I do not lead the league in rushing, and I've only got into the end zone once. Who am I?
First person that comes to mind is Dalvin Cook.
It is not Dalvin Cook.
I'm going to say, Matt Breida?
It is not Matt Breida.
Wow. Okay.
This is going a lot better than the first one.
Like, is it someone... He does not lead the league in rushing yards.
Does not lead the league in rushing yards. They are the most efficient, though.
Is it like LaShawn McCoy?
Not even close.
Not even close. All right. Bad guess.
Is it Austin Eckler?
It is not Austin Eckler. It is a painfully obvious Saquon Barkley. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, Eckler has a lot of fantasy points and touchdowns.
Yeah. 7.8 a carry for Saquon.
He has like 6 touchdowns. Jeez.
yeah, that's true.
Well, that's
Saquon's only scored 1 touchdown. It was that little one to the corner last week.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Lando, we'll flip it over to you.
All right. Okay. This wide receiver is top 5 in targets.
Ooh.
He's outside the top 15 in yards.
Okay.
Okay. He's outside the top 30 in fantasy points.
Ooh.
He carries a 97.7% snap share on his team. Catch percentage is 66.7, but his true catch rate is 94.1. Means catchable balls, he's pretty sure-handed. Who am I?
Oh, man. Okay. Sure-handed. The guy that comes to my mind right off the bat is Larry Fitzgerald.
It is not.
Okay. Not Larry.
Top 5 in targets, outside the top 15 in yards.
Is it Manny Sanders?
It is not.
See, I wanted to go with Sammy Watkins, but I think his yardage has to be better than top 15 right now.
And he's like one of the top in fantasy points. This guy's outside the top 30 in fantasy points.
Ooh. And what
He
was
has not scored a
the stat
touchdown.
on catchable balls?
94.1%.
But what's his
catchable balls?
That's his true though.
Yeah, so 66% catch rate.
So he's got an inaccurate quarterback.
Is it Diggs?
Nope.
Is it?
I like the way you're going, Mack.
DJ Moore?
It's DJ Moore.
Let's go,
Nice.
baby!
Well done. That a bye.
Nice. That's a good one.
I thought I was close with Larry. I thought I was like bang on it with Larry. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice little clue.
Well, get us on Instagram or Twitter and let us know how you did. If you got better, if you could do 3 out of 3 because we didn't get as a group 3 out of 3. We missed the Saquon Barkley one. So let us know what your score was and rub it in our faces.
Tweet at all 3 of us.
Yeah.
Tweet at all 4 of us.
At me, bro. All right, so let's jump into some news here. We've got some interesting stuff happening right now. Cam Newton, still in an air cast due to that aggravated foot sprain, possibly, Landon says, possibly rooted in his decision to dress like a Polish widow before last week's Thursday night game. That was Mark.
I'm not going to think
I
of
was
that.
going to say, that's way too wordy to be Landon. Sorry, Mark, I just totally put that one over you.
No, it's all good. Good riddance. Cam Newton is
no kidding.
Not playing excellent football these days.
He's going to be a point of reference on our upcoming segment, Keep Trade Cut. So we'll keep the analysis here limited, but there was a sleeper notification that just dropped. We are recording, full disclosure, on Wednesday evening, and it was just posted out on Sleeper that Kyle Allen is potentially going to be the starter for the Panthers.
So I wanted to take a minute to talk about how crazy all of this power to the players is getting right now. I think it's crazy, but we're seeing any, it seems like no matter what age you are, no matter how vetted you are or how acclaimed you are as a player, if you want out of an organization, you can get it. What do you guys think of that with Jalen Ramsey this week and all of that mumbo jumbo?
Man, did you guys watch his press conference?
Yeah.
What a joke.
I mean, it's disgusting.
I like his attitude where he's like, look, regardless of what happens, I'm going to continue to play hard. Like, well, I'm still here. But it's like, well, what do you want, Jalen? Like, do you want to play here or do you want to leave? You know, he's like, I'm ready to ride or die with my brothers if I'm still here. Like, bro, like, you're either in or you're out. Make a decision.
I saw an interesting tweet where in all of sports, hockey, football, basketball, these athletes make so much money so early in their prime that they can afford to retire in their prime before their bodies basically
sure. Look at Gronk.
fall apart.
Look at Gronk.
Look at Andrew Luck. They have the ability. They've made enough money at age 28.
Yeah, I mean, we're providing them this power, though, right? Like, fans,
so it's not good for any league.
Well, this is
tough for the league. It's tough for the owners.
Yeah. With Ramsey, this will be, like, that is the de facto probably best player on that team, Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they've got some
what is an organization supposed to think if their best player is ready to throw in the towel? Like, what does, let's say, like, a rookie on that team have to look up to? Mm-hmm. Or what is, like, what's the rest of the defense have to say to the guys that all have to step up because they just lost the best cornerback in the league? Pardon my language.
No. And, I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick left the Dolphins and obviously signed with the Steelers. We didn't get that on our Patreon pod this week, but it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And apparently AJ Bouye has talked to him. They're close friends, obviously, and has tried to make a case to stay. I don't know what's going to happen with him and Doug Marrone. Obviously, they had a falling out. Everyone has seen the video of them getting into it. So, not sure what happens with Ramsey, but whatever team gets him, apparently the Chiefs and Eagles, and I forget one more team has shown interest.
Oh, probably the
Ramsey.
Patriots.
It's not. They weren't on the list.
Probably the
but
that's good.
But yeah, craziness.
Well, he's a shutdown piece, and whatever team he goes to, the dude just wants to win, and I understand that. But sometimes you gotta wait in line. You gotta work for it. You gotta earn your spot. You can't just go to whoever's closest to the ship and just jump on. That's not really how sports are supposed to work. So I was gonna say Trevor Siemian, the backup to Sam Darnold. He's out for the year. I don't know if you guys saw the injury.
If you saw the injury, you knew that was coming.
Disgusting. I get so squeamish over stuff like that. Like, it's just, oh my God. But luckily it didn't. I was actually shocked to see this man walking off the field.
I know.
Like, wow.
And Darnold, he would love to get back by week 5, but I think his return is in question. Mm-hmm. And the future of the New York Jets season is also in question.
Yeah, and you know what? It's definitely a tip of my hat to all you people who stashed Luke Falk out there. That was huge.
Would you guys play or stream Luke Falk at any point this year?
No. Why? No.
He has an 80% completion percentage.
I'd let him play with us if I was playing at like a park with friends or something.
Right, yeah. If we're playing like a flag football match, he's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard no for me. Deshaun Jackson has an abdominal strain. He'll be likely out 2-ish weeks. His timeline is sort of unknown, but 2 weeks for sure at this point in time. So, I mean, fire up if you went out this week and you got yourself J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, or you got some Nelson Aguilar. Summy from the Draft Room Pod was on our Patreon show, and he dropped the Mack Hollins. Sorry, Ryan Hollins?
No, Mack Hollins,
Mack
that's
Hollins.
right.
Thinking of something else. He dropped the Mack Hollins name. You can probably still go out and get him as of Saturday, today. So Mack Hollins is a sneaky ad, especially in a deeper 14-16 team league. So I would say jump in on that while you have the chance. He'll probably provide some sort of upside with the holes they have right now.
There's word that Melvin Gordon claims he's going to be playing somewhere this season.
Yeah.
Another kind of cryptic update from what has been just a bamboozled situation for him. But obviously, everyone knows in LA right now, there's not a lot of problems filling that void, as Austin Eckler is just making it happen all over the field.
He is putting up numbers. So here's the thing. I don't think Melvin Gordon's coming back to play for the Chargers this year. I think if he's coming back, it's going to be with somebody else.
And so that is only dependent on if the Chargers are willing to trade him.
True.
And what the trade market is.
True.
For a guy like that. Melvin has previous injury concerns. That's partially why I think they aren't willing to give him all that money. They offered him $10 million a year, but now they're going to put off contract talks until the offseason.
Right.
So
here's the thing, though.
I would say the only reason that a team would actually trade for him is if their starter goes down and they really have nowhere else to go. And I guess if the Chargers are that desperate, they'll take what they can get. But apparently their asking price was high, so they might not budge.
Here's the thing, though. The market has spoken. No one's gone out to try and get Melvin Gordon. So he's just been sitting there, and no one's made a real, legitimate play for him, in terms of what he expects and what they're willing to pay. So, at this point, does he just sit in limbo? Does he come back with his tail between his legs, or does he just settle and go to the team that wants him next?
Now, it's not a popular opinion, but I'll try to stand firm on this. I do not think Melvin Gordon plays this season at all. I think he pulls a Le'Veon Bell. I understand that he will not accrue a year of free agency, but he will eventually force the Chargers' hand. And unless he gets a new deal next year, worth what he wants, maybe he will sign for $10 million next year. But they'll force a trade. He'll force a trade from them, and we'll settle for whatever they get next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
People might disagree, but I truly believe that Melvin Gordon is off this season.
Well, time will tell. It's a terrible situation, but if you've got Austin Eckler right now, keep rolling him out because he is going to continue to ball. We're going to bring back a segment that we haven't done since last season. It's an in-season segment. We don't really get to do it that often, but keep, trade, cut. People get restless after 2 weeks into the fantasy season. They want to know if they can drop guys. They want to know who has trade value. If you should hold on for dear life. And so we're going to try to take some controversial players and give you our best opinion whether to keep, trade, or cut them. So we're going to start with a guy that will be, probably talked about a lot right now in fantasy football, especially with his injury status. But Cam Newton, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. Mark, are you keeping this guy? Are you trading him? Or are you cutting him?
Oh, I think I would try to get whatever I could in a trade. I don't know if I could cut right away, but he, to me, is not worth a keep right now. Not with the caliber of even the streaming quarterbacks week to week right now. I can't keep him. He is a trade attempt, but just escaping a cut for me.
So I don't think you can get anything for Cam Newton right now. Nobody wants to acquire him. And also for me, he's not a cut yet. I understand the outcome right now does not look good. Maybe give him a couple of weeks, because if he's healthy and if he could run like he used to, that's I guess a big question mark. He's a top 5 quarterback, and maybe I'll regret saying that in a couple of weeks and when he continues to disappoint. But I'm going to, I guess, hold him for now because it just feels wrong to cut a guy like Cam Newton right now after week 2.
Well, he had some beautiful balls in week 1. There are some really nice passes over the top, great looking arm. Shoulder didn't really seem to be the big area of concern that it would have been. And yeah, I didn't expect him to be toggling with the idea of being replaced.
Yeah, for me, Cam Newton is a cut. I hate to say this because yes, he has the name value where you're probably at some point, if he has a decent game, going to be able to trade him in a package deal for something because he's still perceived as valuable. But 2 straight bust games to start the year in fairly decent matchups. I mean, come on. You start the season with the Bucks and you can't do anything with it? That's bad. It's just bad. So, his injury is another factor, but to me, he's a cut. I'm going to let somebody else pick him up and put that landmine on their team. I'm staying away right now. I mean, if I'm playing in a league, this is maybe not the best example, but like Marquise Brown's ownership percentage is 89%. 11% of leagues out there have Marquise Brown on their waiver wire. You got to drop Cam Newton to get Marquise Brown. You just got to.
I suppose. Yeah, I would also do that, but yeah, my leagues he's taken up.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
So between the 3 of us, we got one who keeps, one who trades, and the other who cuts. Now, if Scott was here, there would have to be a 4th option, something else we could do.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to keep him, if you have the space on your bench and your waiver wire is pretty dry, like go ahead and keep him. But I'm not playing him by any means. So I'm not playing him.
Here's the real question, Mac and Mark. The fantasy options in Carolina, that's the big thing. He has one of the arguably could be the best running back in all of football, and it was week 1 in Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, DJ Moore has a ton of upside. Same with Curtis Samuel. Everyone loved Curtis Samuel. Greg Olsen was his safety blanket in week 2. So what do you do with these fantasy options, and how does it affect them? Mark, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I don't think it really affects Olsen as much. I actually kind of like him going into this, either way you spin it. But I think it definitely does damage DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. I don't think quarterbacks who have pop into this situation really have that much success through the air. But someone like McCaffrey, he's got to keep repeating performances like he did week 1.
Yeah, I'm good with McCaffrey, even though he had a bad week last week, running back 42 on the week. That's what I'm going to say. I don't love the stock for DJ Moore or Greg Olsen, but yeah, McCaffrey's safe. He's fine.
All right, next candidate here is O.J. Howard, a guy that was talked up all offseason as potentially a top 5 tight end in this league, and a guy that has the skill and ability to potentially be that number 1. But obviously, Bruce Arians' offense has not been friendly to the tight end. That was kind of the narrative going in, and the narrative was, well, he's never had a tight end like O.J. Howard. So what do you do with him? Keep, trade, or cut?
I'm cutting.
Damn! You're cutting.
Okay, can you give us some reasons why you're cutting? And who you picking up? Who's your tight end?
Yeah, I'm cutting. Man, to say like who I would pick up instead, I don't know. I mean, this week, for example, I'm
at tight end.
Yeah, okay. So if I'm gonna look now to stream tight ends, this week you can go out and get yourself Jason Witten, who's gonna have the most plus fantasy matchup against the Dolphins. So why not? I mean, Jason Witten scored each game so far this season. You'd have to think that would continue against Miami. He is a red zone target for Dak, and Dak's playing well. So, I mean, Jason Witten, this week at least, is a definite play over O.J. Howard, in my opinion.
That's
Marky, what are you doing with O.J.?
That's true. Okay, while there might be other good starting options, which, in my eyes, putting O.J. Howard against the Giants defense in Tampa Bay this week is a way better play than Witten against Miami. I just think it's maybe a bit of a smoke screen that he hasn't gotten those balls, but I know it's going to happen for him. He's definitely a keep for me.
Would you like to slap a bet down on it?
Ooh, okay.
Put it on the board.
All right.
Let's
I'm
go.
in trouble with Pat Mahomes bet, so I gotta double up here.
Okay, what's that one? We'll do double on that, whatever that bet's worth.
It's 20, so we'll go another 20.
Okay, OJ, I'd
over Witten
in week 3.
Okay. Let's go.
All right. All right. Let's go. Okay. OJ over Witten in week 3. Okay, 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 OJ over
I would also keep OJ Howard. I can't imagine we were all wrong on OJ Howard. Jameis will probably continue to look better, and you spent the draft capital. You probably don't have a better option, so he's not hurt. It's a pretty bad landscape as always for a tight end. So,
all right. So our next guy here is someone who I've got on my rosters for the first time this year. Haven't owned him before, but he has not started off hot. I'm talking about Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you guys think about him? Keep, trade, or cut?
You definitely can't cut him. To me, he's a keep. I don't think his trade value is all too hot right now. So my initial instinct is that you have to keep and just sort of ride this one out. Landon, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you can really trade him at this point either, because you're not going to get the value that you want from a first-round pick or early second-round guy you had in Joe Mixon. So you got to keep him. I'm actually going to start him this week against Buffalo. I think he's healthy. He wasn't on the injury report this week. I told you guys last week I was worried about him and coming back too early, but he did not re-injure. He's fine. I think he's going to show out and be that running back that you drafted.
Agreed.
And if he has a good week this week and you just want to get out of that, trade him.
I mean, here's the thing. My question is, has Joe Mixon really even been healthy so far this year? Have we seen, the best version of Joe Mixon? I know he's been banged up with that sprained ankle. He was activated late on Sunday to play, and they were using Gio Bernard. His yards per carry is like 1.6. He's averaging 1.5 week 1, 1.7 week 2. So he's 1.6 on the year so far. I don't know. I don't know if we've seen the healthiest Joe Mixon. I think the short term, while he's recovering, while this offense is trying to, find its way on the ground, I think there's going to be some growing pains for Mixon, but I think the long term is still good. He's what is he on the year? He's the running back 57.
I'd be surprised if he's probably
running
barely
back
in the
57.
Top 50. He's not good. Not when he was taken as basically the running back 5 or 6.
So I think you just have to be patient.
So you can't trade. Don't trade at his basement. Don't trade at his floor. Wait till he has some good weeks, or just sit him on your bench because
agreed.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean 17 yards on 11 carries is not what you're looking for.
So the next guy, he had a great week 1. And he obviously disappointed when Drew Brees went down. That's Alvin Kamara. Keep, trade, or cut a guy like that. He's got Teddy Bridgewater at the helm right now with probably a mix of Taysom Hill, which doesn't bode well for fantasy options in that offense. So, Marky, start off with what you would do if you owned Alvin Kamara.
If I was Sean Payton, get rid of him. No, I'm just kidding. I love Alvin Kamara, and they are such an explosive team. They are going to have to make a huge adjustment without their main quarterback. And it's like I had said earlier, with Cam being out, in a similar situation, any team that loses their quarterback is going to have to rely on stud players like Alvin Kamara. And I think if you want your team to have a solid run, you don't trade a player like this away. You spent a huge draft pick on him. You need to keep playing him, and you need to start him. He is going to get you those points.
Agreed. I mean, I own Alvin Kamara in a lot of places, and it's only Wednesday, and I've had 4 offers for Kamara sent my way, and the value is abysmal. It's nothing that I want to trade him for. So when I look at last week's game, Drew Brees going out in the first quarter, I just think like Teddy Bridgewater just kind of got thrown into the fire. They didn't have a game plan. Teddy wasn't part of that game plan, I should say. But he's more than capable of orchestrating an offense. I mean, he's the highest paid backup in the league. We saw what he could do in his time in Minnesota. He's capable. He can make it work. And he'll find a way to make Alvin Kamara the feature of the offense. That is what this guy is. So you can't really panic on a broken game plan for last week, especially when you lose your best player. So Drew Brees will be back eventually. That's the silver lining in all this, I believe. Some people think he's done, but his timeline is 6 to 8 weeks on the surgery recovery. So, yeah, I'm with Mark. You got a firm hold on Alvin Kamara. There's no chance you let this guy go.
It's amazing the world we live in now. When before the season, we weren't sure if Zeke Elliott was going to play football this year. And then now we have Saquon Barkley, who's got a new quarterback. We have Christian McCaffrey with a new quarterback. Alvin Kamara with a new quarterback. And now Zeke, the guy who's probably going last if you drafted early, is by far and away the number one guy that you'd want on your roster.
Is it just me? Or did like the fantasy football equivalent of Thanos like snap his fingers and half the NFL quarterbacks went down?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love a good superhero reference though.
So the next wide receivers we have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, if you've listened to any fan or NFL Network, is now the new number one in Tampa Bay. If you see fantasy Twitter, you might see buy Mike Evans, buy as many shares of Mike Evans as you can while he is cheap. So what do you do with these two wide receivers?
Chris Godwin is looking like the clear-cut number one, but Mike Evans is also looking like a great value. And I think if you get the opportunity, buy him while he's low. Because there's so many doubters right there that would be quick to turn on any Tampa Bay player just because they have their up and down weeks more than anyone in the NFL. So this is the opportunity to grab Mike Evans and always keep Chris Godwin on your bench, on your starting roster, because he is putting up points week after week right now, and it's kind of just like everyone said would happen.
I don't think that Chris Godwin is the quote-unquote de facto one in this offense. I just think that their roles in the offense are very defined, and he has one clear cut for himself now. I mean, I look at Bruce Arians back when he was with the Cardinals, and he loves to utilize the slot. That's, Larry Fitzgerald. If that name rings a bell, Larry Fitzgerald got fed. I mean, the guy was over 100 receptions under Bruce Arians, and we're kind of seeing the same thing now with Chris Godwin. So it's not that Godwin is the better wide receiver of the two. It's just his spot, his role in this offense fits the Arians system just a little bit better. Now, I've had people approach me on Twitter saying, hey, would you trade Chris Godwin for Mike Evans right now? And my answer to that question is I wouldn't laterally, because it's a 1A, 1B thing. But if I had a desperate owner come to me with Mike Evans plus for Chris Godwin on a panic, absolutely I would. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh, for sure.
Right now. We were big on Chris Godwin in the offseason, rightfully so. Everything looks good through 2 weeks, but it's a small sample size. Mike Evans is still going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of fitting that Mike Evans' highlight last year was like a 40-yard catch and fall, because that's just what he does best. Just a 0 yards after reception kind of guy. And for me, I would probably sell Chris Godwin high. If you can get like a guy like Michael Thomas or something like that for Chris Godwin or Keenan Allen, I would totally do that. Because Jameis Winston is going to have off games. He's going to have games where he throws the game away with an interception.
I'm still waiting for an on game.
The offense can't get moving. Yeah, we're still waiting for that on game. Maybe it happens this weekend against the
Mark's
Giants.
projecting
Who knows?
so. Yeah, so Mike Evans, I would actually try to buy. I would be holding him firmly if I was an owner. And then Chris Godwin, I would hold him as well. And if someone came with the moon, I would definitely trade him.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go with the guy that leads all pass catchers in fantasy football points, 50.5 in half PPR. Also leads the league in receiving yards. That is John Ross III, wide receiver out of Cincinnati.
Sell.
Keep trade or cut, fellas.
Get him off your team. He didn't even help you week 1 because you didn't roster him. So now that you have him, he may have even been on your bench. Sell him while you can.
If you're in the case,
we just heard good news about AJ Green running.
AJ Green. Mm-hmm.
So if truly AJ is healthy and fully involved in the game plan, John Ross will not sustain anywhere close to that. So if you could get top dollar for John Ross, I don't know if you can or not, but
Would you trade John Ross for AB if it was available to you?
who? Adrian Peterson?
But AB brings his own risks now. He's not out of the doghouse. I mean, yes, I would. I definitely would. But let's just say that John Ross does have some relevance, and Antonio Brown's out for the year. Like, it's a risky trade both ways.
I don't know. I might try to sell Antonio Brown, especially after this week.
God, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't. It's tough to say what's going to happen with that offense once AJ Green comes back. I mean, Tyler Boyd's a moving part. Tyler Eifert is healthy. I think John Ross still has that down the field big playability, and I think that's still going to be there. Depending on how much he gets targeted and their game script is another thing. But yeah, I mean, when a guy goes off for 50 points, in 2 weeks, you gotta try to move and get some sort of value.
Yeah, or you keep rostering him because I think there's a good reason that he gets all these points, and it's because he's the fastest guy on the field at any given time, and Dalton still has a pretty good arm.
Dalton's been good, man.
Like, he has
two great games in a row to start the season. Not league winning, week winning weeks, but by our consistency charts, which are coming out next week after week 3 on our Patreon. Look for those. But the guys had 2 great games to start the year. Andy Dalton is good for fantasy right now.
All right, and we've got one more guy who's probably about 7 hours away from me right now in Minneapolis, Adam Thielen of the Vikings. So, what do you guys think of him? He's still got, I mean, when the ball's thrown right, he does have great route running. He's a great player and obviously was amazing last year. But I want to know what you guys think of Thielen as far as keep, trade, cut.
Go ahead, Lyndon.
Oh, I would keep Adam Thielen. I think he's a very sustainable wide receiver 1 in that offense. I know we don't like the volume that Kirk Cousins is really throwing out there, but I don't think that's not projected for the rest of the season. I think he is fully capable of throwing the ball 40 plus times, 50 times a game. We saw that early in the season last year. And I think Adam Thielen is the one in that offense, and he's a PPR machine. He's got one of the best hands in the league. So I think I would probably keep Thielen if I had him.
It's interesting. I'm probably going to keep. I'm going to hold on to him and just kind of see how this pans out.
But you're tempted to
Kirk
trade.
Cousins I just don't think I can get anything for him right now.
No?
I mean, he did have the one game, where he scored that he looked good. But I mean, Kirk Cousins, we can see games, where Dalvin Cook and the rushing game, I mean, Alexander Madison's going to be a thing at one point this year too, where Kirk Cousins only attempted 10 total passes in a 28-12 win week 1. If Kirk Cousins, there's going to be games where he only throws 10 times, there's going to be duds for Diggs and Thielen, and Rudolph's not even close to being rosterable at this point. Even last week against Green Bay, he threw 32 times, and that's probably not going to happen if they're not down 21-0. They're probably going to run the rock a lot. And we kind of saw this happen last year when Dalvin Cook came back in week 9. I mean, Adam Thielen fell off a cliff. So, I don't know. He's only attempted 42 passes so far. That's only on pace for 336 on the year. I think their focus is on the ground, and I'm a little bit concerned about Kirk Cousins. So, I'm going to keep. I'm probably going to wait till Adam Thielen has a big day, and I'm going to look to trade him.
All right.
Yeah. I'd be on board with a Thielen trade too. I think it's a different looking offense, but I love how great Cook and Madison are working together, but I do not like how it's impacting the receiver core.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Totally agree. Okay, fellas, it's we're heading into week 3 here. The Instagram has been cooking, and we've got some mailbag questions coming in off of Instagram today. So we got a couple serious ones. We got a couple funny ones. Coming in from Joe Cool 1416. Yes, that is a real handle. I've talked to him a couple times in the DMs. Sounds like a fake handle. But he wants to know, and I'm not sure if this is a weekly question or a season-long question, but Mark Andrews or George Kittle?
So this week, I would definitely start George Kittle. He's still a stud. They've got a good matchup. And, Jimmy Garoppolo looks great. As great as Mark Andrews is so far this year, I'm still going to try to start my stud unless proven otherwise. And maybe you could trade one of them. I would say maybe a good opportunity if you have both. If you can get lots for Kittle, hey, maybe trade him and get a pick next year.
I don't know.
If
I don't
you think you would keep Kittle, then trade Mark Andrews then, because people, he's bound to have another pretty good game against Kansas City, and you can get top dollar for Mark Andrews. That might be the play then. What do you think if you got both two stud wide or tight ends?
Yeah, I mean this week I'm happy to play Kittle against Pittsburgh. I know they just beefed up their defense with Minkah Fitzpatrick, but that doesn't mean anything. Jimmy Garoppolo was in high regard for a stream of the week for me at the quarterback position, so I like George Kittle this week. I don't dislike Mark Andrews. I think that game in Kansas City is going to be a shootout, and a lot of pieces are going to be involved. But Lamar Jackson heavily targets two players on the offense, Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown. That's really been his only two targets up until this point. So on the year, I think I'm going to lean Mark Andrews.
Oh, wow.
This week, I think you guys are right to say Kittle. I mean, you saw the way that Pittsburgh defense tried to handle Will Dissly last week. They let him in twice, so I do like that. But on the whole, I think Mark Andrews is playing like a true number 2 tight end, like Pro Bowl caliber. And what else I love about him is the fact that defenses that are trying to figure out this Baltimore offense are having such a hard time with the quarterback, right? Like, he is so quick and making such fast adjustments that, if a linebacker makes a misstep, then Andrews is going to be wide open. And if they decide to go with Andrews, Jackson's wide open. So right now, I just think it's too hard for defenses to figure out what these guys are going to bring. And for that reason, I'm taking Andrews on the year.
I love it, man. Welcome to the team.
There you go. What's next, Mac?
So we've got another one off Instagram from RC Ward 7. He said, in a 12-man full PPR, if I paired Lockett and DJ Moore together in a package, what running back should I target?
Running back.
This is a tough question. I mean, you got to find, first, when you're going 2 wide receivers for running back, you have to find yourself a trade partner. You need to find a wide receiver needy team that has a good running back core. They got to be willing to give somebody up. So, we got to look at what we have here for reference. On the year so far, DJ Moore is wide receiver 32 and Tyler Lockett 27. They're both averaging about 12 fantasy points per game. So
I have a question for you guys. Is Marlon Mack enough to get for those two?
That's interesting. That is interesting.
He has Atlanta.
I don't know if someone would want it.
I don't know
so
either.
Marlon Mack actually leads the league.
Atlanta, Oakland, KC next. Houston, Denver, Pittsburgh, Miami. He has a great schedule. Like, I would say a guy like Josh Jacobs, but I look at his next few games and they are tough. Indy, Chicago, Green Bay, Houston. Could you get it? I don't think you can get a guy like Lev Bell.
By the way, no, you can't get Lev Bell. I misspoke. Full PPR, they are averaging about 15 a game, but they are 27 and 28. They are back-to-back right now. Marlon Mack's interesting. He leads the league right now in carries, in attempts. So the volume is there, and he didn't have as great of a game as he did in week 1. Obviously, 25 for 174 is tough to back up. So I don't know if you can get Marlon Mack. That's probably a good place to start.
What about Derrick Henry?
Anytime you're
maybe an Aaron Jones. I think
that
might be able to.
I think you missed the boat on Aaron Jones. I think that had to be week 1.
Yeah, maybe. I would probably
I would
go
be
for
interested
Derrick Henry wouldn't be a bad idea. I know it's a PPR league.
I was gonna say Chris Carson.
Yeah, he had a bad week. If you can get it done now, he should be set to go off. He has also a very good schedule. Very, very good schedule.
Very good schedule. Derrick Henry is currently the running back 4. Chris Carson, the running back 9. I think Derrick Henry you're probably not going to be able to get, but I mean Chris Carson or Marlon Mack in that 9 to 10 range is probably what you're looking for here.
And the only issue, those guys don't catch the ball, right? And I mean Chris Carson has, I think, the best chance to. He saw some targets in the first few games. He did fumble a couple times, which put him in the doghouse, but I think he's still going to be the workhorse.
You could try David Johnson.
Oh.
My advice would be, if you're going to try to do this package and go for a running back, you have to go with the guy that you're probably not going to get. Obviously, don't be silly and offer for Christian McCaffrey, but I think someone in that David Johnson, Chris Carson, Marlon Mack range is probably where you start, or even Derrick Henry, and then you work your way down to someone you could settle on.
Sure.
So don't ever undersell, because then you can't go up from there. But oversell and then settle for less. Just like if you're going to be on like Craigslist, guy wants 500.
Shrewd.
You offer 4, meet at 450. Everyone's happy.
You got to be a shrewd businessman in this market.
DJ Moore, we love him, but people might be worried. They're gonna tell you the narrative. He's got a new quarterback or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Sure.
Yep. A tale of two worlds. Does Deebo Samuel continue to be productive, or will he regress?
That's a tough one. I do like Deebo Samuel. I think Dante Pettis eventually will get out of the doghouse. And Marquise Goodwin is going to be involved. But I like Deebo, but he's still a rookie. So you can't, he's definitely going to regress the way he has started. But I still like him this year.
What do you think?
He is actually, as far as that explosive offense goes, he's pretty impressive. And for all the Dante Pettis talk that I was doing, it seems like Deebo has come out on top to be the favored target and just getting flat out more field time. But I think we gotta see Pettis get in that action more often, and that's gonna hurt Deebo's target share. But after all, like you said, Lennon, he's a rookie. You can't give him the moon. You can't take the first couple weeks to be a prediction for 16 more weeks. Agreed.
I mean, when you look at his involvement, it's actually more than I thought it'd be through 2 weeks. He's basically got 16% of his team's total air yards, only 8 targets so far, but been productive on them. 8 for 80.
He will regress. He's not going to keep that up.
For sure. I mean, he is 3 yards per completion above the expected number. So he's a little bit more efficient than expected, especially for a rookie. But I mean, this offense is trending upward. I would probably continue to flex him in 12 to 14 team leagues.
In good matchups. I don't
flex
him.
I don't mind the play. Yeah, in a good matchup.
Sure.
Yeah. He's definitely a piece to keep, if maybe you're in a keeper league, he's in consideration for a long-term keep.
Sure.
Yeah. This one comes in from my boy, Bobby Fans. What do you do when you hate your whole team?
Stop playing fantasy football. No. Man. I hated my team in our Gridiron Lane Mack, and I've changed my tune. I seem to like it. I've got Zeke Elliott, and I was so concerned about him. Make some moves. Shake it up, Bobby. Just keep trading. Go try to do some 2-for-1s. Get 2 decent pieces that have produced and get a stud, and then pick up a great guy on waivers. stay young, plan for the future, and just try to stay in it. Maybe play Dynasty or play DFS. Play daily fantasy football and put a couple bucks here and there. That means you can get every player in the league if you want to. So, or any player, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I play in the league with him. He's off to a tough start. He lost Big Ben. He lost Tyreek Hill, and he has both Tampa Bay running backs and has started the wrong one both weeks.
I also hate your team,
and
Bobby.
So I understand your growing frustration. Yes, I hate his team too. I've offered him a trade for future keeper values. We do play in a auction league, so I've offered him Devin Singletary in exchange for some players. So if you want to shut it down this early, which I wouldn't recommend doing,
don't shut it
make
down.
some trades, fight it out. But you could sell off for keepers. But I would definitely wait some weeks. Anything can happen. I've seen guys come back from 0-4, 0-5 to make a playoff run.
It's not over yet, Bobby.
It's definitely not over. You just gotta, stay hungry, stay focused, make some moves, and see what fantasy football brings.
So I've got a question from a guy. Maybe he's a future Patreon member. And just for future reference, for anyone still listening, we will answer every one of your questions if you join our Patreon. It's a great community. It helps us a ton. We do this for free right now. We're not making any money. And if you enjoy what you're listening to, check us on Patreon. So
at least send us that subscribe or Apple iTunes review if you are 40 plus minutes into this thing.
There you go. Let
us know
baby.
what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong.
So it's a dynasty question. It's a 14-team dynasty league, so super competitive. Okay. He has OJ Howard, but he also has Zach Ertz and Mark Andrews. He's got a guy trying to buy OJ Howard off of him. He was offered Kenyon Drake in a second. This guy's got a pretty stacked roster. I said, go for Joe Mixon. Obviously, right? And the guy said he would do it, but he's waiting on Melvin Gordon to come back. So I want your temperature on the first trade that is definitely on the table, and then obviously the better trade than Joe Mixon, who we talked about all these guys earlier, so it shouldn't be anything new. Marky, let's start with you. What do you think about, you see his team in front of you, he's got okay team, but really no studs. What do you do with that kind of team?
I cannot stand when people say they'll hold out if, and you don't know when there's going to be a certain time frame around it. You don't start peeking for trades and, get it, say no to tantalizing deals because something might happen in the future. Now, if this guy's going to keep Mixon for the entire season, which could very well happen, you don't want to have slept on some opportunities to at least add some depth. And that second rounder just looks so sweet. I honestly, I would push for Mixon a little more. Just keep going, try and wear that guy down. Do not bite on any player anyone trying to push a dolphin onto your team right now until you've tried for better. But I think if the person said they were going to get rid of Joe Mixon on the condition that blah, 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 then you keep pushing until you whittle him down.
Love that.
Landon, what's this guy's name? What's this guy's name? What is it, sorry?
Stefan.
Listen, Stefan. This is what you can expect when you come into the community, the SMS crew. Stefan, listen to me. You need to apply some pressure. You need to sweet talk this owner. You need to apply some pressure, and you need to say, look, OJ Howard is a stud. You are tight end needy. I don't need to get rid of OJ Howard, but you need him. I will take Joe Mixon, and I will take him now, or the offer expires. Now, Joe Mixon is struggling. Talk that narrative up. Joe Mixon is struggling. You can probably, play somebody off your bench or waiver somebody who will have temporary relevance until Melvin Gordon comes back. But you need to apply some pressure on the Joe Mixon trade and get that done. Kenyon Drake plus a second is nowhere close to as good as Joe Mixon for OJ Howard.
Yeah, boy, I love it. Steps, we love you, man. Hopefully you join our community and you get an extra podcast every week. We could talk about your team completely. It's a good time, and you help out the boys.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you jumped on the trolley, Stefan. It's I'm just glad to get another boy on board.
Okay, last segment, boys. Final stretch. We've got the starts of the week. And we're going to keep it short and simple, give you 3 guys that we like, varying positions. I'll kick it off. This offense right now isn't the most popular. It's not what we expected it to be through 2 weeks. But there is a diamond and a consistent player within this group. Between Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp has been the most stable, getting 10 and 9 targets the first 2 weeks. Woods had a dud game week 2. Cooks had a dud game week 1. Cooper Kupp remains consistent and safe and a staple in your offense, and he's definitely Jared Goff's favorite target. I'm going Cooper Kupp, only 66% started. That should be closer to 90. So if you got Cooper Kupp on your bench, please at least flex him, get him out there. The Rams are going to continue to eat, and they're going to get better.
Love it.
My favorite guy this week, I'm going to start. I got 3 chosen, but I'm going to go with this running back, David Montgomery, going up against Washington. I just love the way he was running last week. He is clearly picking up steam and popularity in that offense. And if that quarterback of theirs is unable to throw touchdowns, they got to get him on the ground. And guess what? Washington is not stopping a lot of ground game right now. So, yeah, played David Montgomery. He's been starting at 51%. That's my start of the week.
Love it, Marky. He was my start of the week last week. But this week, I am going with a quarterback. He's got 94 attempts over the first 2 games. He's only a 31% start, and that is my man, Kyler Murray. He's been one of the few quarterbacks to throw for over 300 yards in his first 2 games in the NFL, and he finally has a pretty good matchup. So they play Carolina. So get your Kyler Murray share started. Start him in DFS and get it going.
It's a great start of the week. Love it.
Boom. Listen, guys, if you liked what you heard today, go ahead, leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. It would really, really mean the world to us. It is what helps us be noticed on Apple Podcasts. It helps us trend. It helps us get more listeners. So listen, we really appreciate your feedback. We're up to about 40 reviews so far. So, keep that love coming. We want to say a special quick thanks out to Fanatic. They are our partner for the year. We didn't get a chance to mention them here, but all those statistics that we pulled, they're coming from Fanatic. So they do a great job of getting data to your fingertips through the app. It's updated every single week. It's got yours truly in there. The Saturday Morning Snap is a featured partner, and so all of our articles and our podcasts get pushed to the app. So go ahead, download, check them out. Tell them what you think. FANATIQ, only on the App Store right now. Go ahead and check them out.
Have a good weekend, everyone, and good luck in week 3. My DFS article is coming out Sunday morning. We killed it last week with some guys like Cooper Kupp and
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, man, it's been sick. We've had some really good ones. I had McCole Hardman on there as well.
And the first week you had Sammy Watkins. Yeah, you had 2 other guys. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's been a really good segment so far, Lando. So keep that up. And if you are around Sunday morning from about 11:30 till 1, we got the sleeper chat going again. So we'll tweet the link out. You can join us there. It's active. It's fast and furious, but those last minute start sits, we're there to cover you.
Thanks a lot for listening, everybody, and especially you, Scott.
See you, Scotty. Have a good week, man. All right, we'll see you boys next week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at SMS_fantasy and support this independent podcast at patreon.com/Saturday Morning Snap.